Hey, what's up, guys? Bar checking in with another market update. As you see, the portfolio has gotten absolutely decimated in the beginning of the year. We saw that kind of uptick going in the back half of 2023. And then we've seen a pretty substantial sell-off going into 2024. So far, I'm selling my options. I have the covered calls on Plug Power as well as SoFi. As many of my kind of subscribers that have been here for a while and kind of viewers that kind of come back and check in on the channel, you guys will know that I've been running the wheel strategy on both Plug Power and SoFi, which is, again, selling cash secured puts until you get assigned and then turning around and selling covered calls until you get your call or shares called away, all while collecting premium. I think it's a great way to earn additional income on your portfolio. And then I have two strategies here, the credit spread and then the 3-option strategy, which I call the Christmas tree. These are way more volatile and a little bit more risky. You can make a little bit more money on them depending on the implied volatility, but they can also work against you pretty badly if you choose wrong. My NVIDIA play here, as you guys know, I rolled it last week, making it kind of showing an average credit of 235, but I actually got a $10 credit because I had to buy and close the old position, which is a spread as well. Because of NVIDIA has actually ran up quite substantially in this year, it kind of blew up my overall position. So you'll notice that, I'm down right now about $90, but that's, again, more than I am because of that $10 credit. I'm going to let it go for a little while because if you notice here in the left corner of that trade, it expires on February 2nd. So I'm hoping we see a kind of a pullback next week in NVIDIA, as it has been on a pretty good run as the overall broader market has been falling. So I'm not too worried about that one. But if next week it's looking grim, I'm probably going to try and roll it up again just to make sure that I cover my basis and not lose essentially $325, which at this point in time, I'd lose the whole $500 spread, which again goes back to what I was saying about how spreads can be very volatile and you can lose a lot of money if you make the wrong plays. The 3-option strategy here, this one has kind of blown up because of American Airlines. Over the last, basically month here, I think partially with some of the issues that Boeing has had with the 737s, but overall the broader market for airline stocks have fallen. And so like you'll see, I was selling the 3-option strategy to hopefully land in about like the 1450 range. So see, the 1450 was kind of where I sold the 2 calls, and then my protection was the 15 and the 14. So because the substantial drop off, I'm essentially losing my entire position here, which was $12. And I think like the estimated return at the time I opened it was a potential of gaining 35. So I'd almost double my money if it stayed flat at that $14.50 range. But, it didn't work out for me on this one. So 2 options that haven't been going well for me, but I was anticipating the market to kind of stay steady and wasn't anticipating the substantial drop. Outside of that, Bitcoin has also fallen down. I think there's a lot of hype, obviously, around this area with the Bitcoin ETF being approved by the SEC or pending approval before the approval. And so it might have been one of those sell the news situations, because if you see here, now we're kind of back down to that mid 40s. But honestly, Bitcoin, anything under 20,000, in my opinion, is a pretty good buy. But, I'm just doing the $2 a day in my daily buys because this one's kind of a, in 10 years time, maybe I'll look back and, maybe I'll be able to, cash out and buy some of the stocks that I actually prefer. Plug Power took a massive dip again. Here we are down about $620. But I did sell a cash secured put to get into the position, and I've been selling covered calls for a while. The options premiums were more around the $7 to $15 range for a while. But then here as of late, because the price is so far and I'm selling way out of the money, I'm only making about $1 to $2 per covered call at this point. So yeah, see like $2, whatnot. So it's not as good and as lucrative as I'd expect it to be, but as long as if I don't sell, I don't technically lose money. So I'm okay with that. Still buying 2 shares a day in ORGN because my daily buy is off. We have the not meeting the listing standard. So we do have the potential that this gets delisted, but I still think that it's going to be a pretty good stock into the future. So I'm definitely a buyer there. Aurora Innovation Technology, essentially, I've talked about this stock several times. It's an autonomous driving play, mainly in fleet and commercial vehicles. I think that this will be huge into the future as, we develop kind of the overall autonomous driving market. And I think what's going to be huge and underrated in this market is going to be farm equipment like tractors, and whatever other equipment they use to for agriculture in general. So been buying on this one. I'm just kind of buying, a couple dollars here and there a day, which, because the stock is barely anything, I've already amassed 35 shares. I did have a pretty large position in this in my private portfolio, but, as you guys knew from last week's video, I was selling a bunch of covered calls on it. And I got about half to a third of, or 2/3 of my position taken away from me at a $2.50 strike price, which I was okay with because my average cost was substantially lower. I'm still hanging on to, maybe 500 shares, I think it is at this point in my public portfolio. And I'm going to build up a position here in the private portfolio because I definitely believe in the stock. Outside of that, the portfolio hasn't changed too much. I did add an additional buy, which was Intel. Intel, I was buying it pretty heavily over the last 2 years, amassed a quite large position in it in my public portfolio, or my private portfolio, excuse me. I was buying all through the 20s and the 30s. And I think I, ultimately accumulated a price of, I think my average price was like in the mid 30s. And that was because I was buying, initially opening positions in the mid 40s, and then I was buying all the way through the dip, and then it's recovered due to, I think the high demand in AI chips, but also, in my opinion, Intel is going to be a leading player in the chip market because they're investing heavy in their foundry portion of the business, which is actually the manufacturing of the chips. And obviously they design chips, they're building new chips that will be, utilized in the future for advancing technologies. But again, I think the huge thing for me is the kind of bringing chip making back domestically, not only in the United States, but also in different countries. So they're diversifying where these factories and foundries they're building in order to, lessen the risk of geopolitical risk where, right now it's like something like 70 or 80% of these chips are coming out of Taiwan, which obviously, there's geopolitical risk there with China, which I'm not really going to speak on because I'm not really a political person. But, I think Intel is making the right moves with diversifying their supply chain. And I just think that, they are set up for the future. I'm going to make an in-depth video about Intel of why I still believe in it and why I think that you guys should start buying it as well. But I think that it's an underrated stock. And, when you're talking about the high flyers like NVIDIA, like AMD, Skyworks Solutions, things like that, I think that people overlook Intel because it's like kind of the grandpa of the stock or of the chip makers, right? It's been around for a long time and it's kind of been steady Eddie. And I will say that they have dropped the ball in the past, but I think that they're making the right moves to kind of excel into the future. Anyways, guys, I'm going to make this pretty kind of quick video. Like I said, the market hasn't been doing exactly what we wanted it to do in the 2024, but I think that for me, it creates great buying opportunities because, I'm in my early 30s, not going to plan to utilize my stocks until I'm 50 plus. So I got a lot of time to dollar cost average into the market. Appreciate you guys stopping by. This is the part of the video where I'm going to plug a word that if you're still here in this part of the video, which the majority of you aren't, because my average watch time hovers around the 3 to 5 minute range. But if you're still here in this part of the video, comment cold because it has been freezing cold here in Texas the last week. And I'm glad that we have the snow and the ice behind us. Anyways, guys, like, subscribe, comment anything down below. And what I will say again is thank you guys. Love you guys. See you next week.